right, some more technology. In the area of medicines, it's a cliche aspect of indigenous in the Western Hemisphere today. But when I talk sometimes about shocking things, and this is a shocking thing, the pharmacological industry in the world today grew directly from the Western Hemisphere and what they were doing and what they had done with medicine. Nothing like that existed before. That is what kicked off our world today of medicines that we have. And yes, over the 1900s, many of them were isolated so that we could create the artificial forms of them. But prior to that, that was it. It was just these drugs. Now, in the 400, 500 years that the white man has dominated these two continents, there is not one medicine plant that they've found that was not known to the indigenous already. There were over 1,200 medicine plants documented in Mesoamerica and written down, and the uses for each. And prior to that, most places in the world, they might have had things that were taken, but they weren't drugs as we think of them today that actually fixed things, that could be tracked in a scientific way, that there was a repeatable process similar to the way we do science today. But the pharmacological industry has its roots in the Western Hemisphere and what was discovered and these drugs that were brought around the world, now particularly quinine and malaria. Quinine is the first time that anyone had found a way to really cure malaria. Probably was responsible for building the Panama Canal, which won the Second World War for our side. And they were the only place that really had something like prescriptions. Now, a lot of Europeans, because there was oral cultures, they may not have realized in the oral cultures that these prescriptions and what was being prescribed was actually quite specific. Now, in the written cultures where they had alphabets and languages and hieroglyphics and elsewhere, then that's more understandable to a European, the Eurocentric way of looking at things, so that they understood a little bit more. But in the other cultures, they didn't. So they had this idea that it was all kind of a randomized, but it really wasn't. And there was a lot of similarities, again, where we talked about trade. There was a lot of similarities in the sutures, the suturing techniques, the drug techniques, the numbing techniques, the doctor's bags that have been found by archaeologists. Quite a lot of similar practices and techniques and medicines that were used up and down the Americas. Now, this image that we have of medicine, I think there's a little pharmacy shop in Europe somewhere with a guy with a white coat and little glass test tubes and bringing on this brave new world of pharmacological amazements for us in our world, where we don't have to suffer nearly as much. Most of that is just mythical, and it's just not true. Bloodletting up into the 1800s was state-of-the-art in Europe. So we owe our debt of gratitude to the indigenous in the Western Hemisphere, so this brave new world pharmacological magic that we live with today.